You want your cannabis and you want it now. But let's be honest, the couch is comfortable and you're not leaving the house. Not to worry. Amuse has your back. They deliver high-quality cannabis products right to your front door. Think of them as a good friend with a great stash who's always available. From vape pens to flour, pre-rolls to beverages, topicals to edibles, they've got it. All without the dispensary hassle. Check them out at amuse.com and save $20 on us. That's right. Just use promo code PODCAST to get $20 off your first purchase. That's AMUSE.com. Promo code PODCAST. You want your cannabis and you want it now. But let's be honest, the couch is comfortable and you're not leaving the house. Not to worry. Amuse has your back. They deliver high-quality cannabis products right to your front door. Think of them as a good friend with a great stash who's always available. From vape pens to flour, pre-rolls to beverages, topicals to edibles, they've got it. All without the dispensary hassle. Check them out at amuse.com and save $20 on us. That's right. Just use promo code PODCAST to get $20 off your first purchase. That's AMUSE.com. Promo code PODCAST.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a special edition. I'm joined by Lisa and Jen from the Prince and the Pervert podcast. How's it going, ladies?
We're fine. We're in the laundry. We're in isolation. Lisa's the only other non-family person I see these days.
Same with you, except for people at the supermarket. Hello, everyone.
So for everybody out there, if you're not familiar with the ladies, you should definitely make sure that you find their content on your favorite hosting site. Make sure you download their podcast. It's amazing. They're from Australia, obviously, like you've heard their accent, and they do great work in the Jeffrey Epstein case. So ladies, what was the number one thing that got you involved with the Jeffrey Epstein case?
Well, I lived in Bali in Indonesia for a while, for a couple of years, and I was not very busy. And then in 2015, I found a link about Epstein and Prince Andrew. So I always knew about it, but obviously as soon as he was jailed this year, Jen and I started talking about it together because we worked together like 20 years ago.
So you guys had worked together previously, and then you had found out that you both had the same interest in this case and decided to team up again to pursue the truth.
Well, when Epstein died, all the rumors went round that he'd been, taken out of jail and, there was injuries. I was still awake. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Lisa was still awake. We just blew up Messenger. There was another journo that we used to work with. Lisa and I both worked for Fairfax, which is an Australian media company that isn't tabloid, I suppose would be old legacy, serious broadsheet.
Not owned by Murdoch.
Not owned by Murdoch, let's just say that. So us three journos were sitting there just firing off messages to each other. No sleep was had that night trying to work out, did he die? Was he alive? Was someone sent in? We were going back into the dells of the web trying to find out more info. We all knew that he'd been done in, Florida, that there was that, dodgy case and he was let off and that there was more to it than what was coming out. And it just exploded.
And that's the genesis of our podcast, the Prince and the Pervert podcast.
And now, of course, being that you're from Australia, a Commonwealth, stuff like that, the Prince Andrew angle must have been very interesting for you ladies.
Well, the Queen is the head of our country, supposedly.
And something a lot of people may not know is she sacked our Prime Minister in 1975.
And I still remember that. My mother, I was only a little one. My mother swore at the television when he got sacked. The only time I've ever heard my mother swear, and that ignited my, thing for politics.
With me, it's injustice. If there's one thing I cannot stand, it's injustice. And this case absolutely seethes with it.
Yeah, this case is definitely one of those cases where you look at it and you can't help yourself to be enraged. My blood pressure raises on a daily basis more than it should. I get so agitated just thinking about all of the people that had to be involved for so long for this to go on. And as a man and as an alpha male, obviously, it makes me just so angry to think that people were around and they knew what was occurring and nobody throttled this guy.
That's the thing. So many people knew. Cindy McCain has admitted they all knew, but didn't know what they could do.
And also there is that woman who says that they need to look at Cuomo's, is it? Anthony Weiner's laptop.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff though about when he first was arrested. There was a bunch of stuff going on in America. I don't know if you're familiar with the Pizzagate controversy.
Oh, yes.
All right, so there was a lot of stuff going on with the Pizzagate situation, and Anthony Weiner's laptop got wrapped up in that, and people were saying that they had found all sorts of vile stuff on that laptop. But unfortunately, we have never seen any of that stuff. We've never seen any of that evidence, and I find it hard to believe that if there was that kind of stuff on that laptop that we wouldn't have seen it already. Somebody would have leaked it. We're talking about the SDNY when we talk about that, and obviously everyone listening to the show, they know that I'm not a big fan of the SDNY, so I don't have any faith that they're going to do the right thing, but I think that one of the police officers or multiple police officers probably would have leaked some of that information if they had it, in my opinion.
So, okay then, do you think anything will come out of that New York investigation?
You know, I would like to say that I think there's going to be movement from New York, but I don't have any faith in Jeffrey Berman, and I certainly have no faith in Maureen Comey. You know, it's sad to say that, too, because the SDNY, the office that we're talking about, these are the people that were responsible for destroying the mafia in America. So they come from a storied office, a storied section of the Justice Department, and still they can't muscle up enough intestinal fortitude to go after some of the biggest scumbags ever.
So when Berman called out Prince Andrew in front of Epstein's house, was that just a song and dance show to distract us from the fact that they're doing nothing?
You know, I don't want to speak for Attorney General Berman. I don't really know what his motivation is. I don't know if it was a tactic. And see, that's a big problem for me, because he shouldn't have said anything. He should have just kept his cards close to his vest and kept it moving. What he did was he alerted Andrew to the situation, and the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family went and assembled that law team.
That is incredible. The Joe Exotic of the royal family.
But he is. He's the mullet boy.
Yeah, he's the tool. He's the guy that, you know in Joe Exotic when he says, "I'm never going to recover financially from this." That's what I think of Andrew saying, standing in front of the mirror every single day, but not saying financially, obviously.
No, that'd be Fergie's line. She's all about the money.
But she's being used to distract us as well. This week, she was mopping her floor and getting it put on Instagram. Like, really? We know you've got servants. We know you live with Prince Andrew. Stop it.
Yeah, she's an embarrassment. I saw that some of the stuff that you ladies were working on with Fergie. And like I say all the time on this podcast, I'm not really a royal expert. I don't know too much about modern day the royal household of the modern day. If we were talking about, the Plantagenets, then I'd actually be able to talk a little bit more confidently about things. But one thing I will tell you is this. I have zero faith in anybody in that royal family. They all strike me as just really weird, odd, inbred folk.
Yes.
It was so easy to poke Fergie, though. We sent her to the Sun complaining about trolls on the internet because we sent her a sticker. She's their weakest link.
She is.
Yeah, so, okay, let's go back to the beginning of that. So you ladies were involved in poking Fergie in the eye a little bit with your secret artist. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about that?
Okay, well, Jen and I came up with an idea. Firstly, we wanted to get a blimp and put it over Buckingham Palace, but obviously we couldn't afford it. And we were talking about it on our podcast. We need a bus. Now, after we said that, Gloria Allred actually got a bus with Prince Andrew's face on it.
we are influencers. We accept this role.
We're going to claim that one was ours.
That's funny.
But then we started designing stickers and put up a store because people were saying, hey, we want to buy this merchandise. So we decided any proceeds we make from our Threadless store, which is EpsteinThreadless.com, go straight to Virginia Roberts Gruffet, a Survivors Foundation. So we did this, cute little video of us going through saying how easy it is to buy one of these stickers. And Lisa came up with a great idea. Let's send it to Fergie. So, of course, we have Epstein's Black Book. We have Fergie's work address. So we sent it to her. And then we got the email that the stickers are on their way. Sure enough, bang, the Sun reports this beautiful story, which even had the word pedo in the headline.
Or pedo.
Pedo,
Yep.
depending on whether you've got an Australian or American accent.
Yep.
Blasting sewer living trolls, giving,
We need to learn some respect for Andrew.
and, just because he knew Epstein. And then we came in to record
Our podcast.
and that's what the story was saying. We walked out an hour or so later, and the story had been updated, and it was all about Fergie being worried about trolls on the internet upsetting
Meghan
and Catherine and Harry, and it was a complete rewrite of this story. Luckily, we had screenshots, but we poked Fergie enough that she went screaming to the Sun, probably got paid for the story.
And also, we can do like low-level annoyance to these people. We sent the journalist from the Telegraph who writes these love-ins for Prince Andrew all the time. We sent her a notebook with a photo of Prince Andrew on the front, and it's just a caption that says Crownavirus. So, we're happy to just be low-level trolls.
But low-level trolling has managed to freak Fergie out enough
To go to the Sun.
and draw more attention to the survivors, to the case. So we're happy with this. We'll keep doing it.
The other thing is also, no one was really talking about Andrew online around the time the stickers arrived. So that's why we think she came out with that, because we also had one that said, we've got a Ghislaine Maxwell range, and we sent one, do you know where this pervert is? Now, Secret Us she's American, she does all these amazing memes for us that we then upload onto our Threadless account, and people can buy them. We're not making money out of them. I have a friend who has a Ghislaine Maxwell pervert bag he uses to go to shopping.
That's
See,
awesome.
We may not be able to break news. Occasionally we have, but we're more about raising awareness. We've both worked in newsrooms. We both have our Me Too moments. It's about getting people focusing on this story and asking questions. Why hasn't Ghislaine been brought in?
So if anyone can link us up with, a bus, that would be good.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeffrey Epstein Show audience, you heard the request. Let's get into action, folks. I know people out there, from the emails I get from you folks that listen to this show, you are some creative SOBs out there in this audience, so let's get cracking.
We would love a blip. I actually looked into it.
And also town criers outside Buckingham Palace.
Town crier, how good would that be, do you think?
Oh, that would be classic. Dress them up like a page from, like the Middle Ages and have them stand out there and do a whole entire thing. That would be hilarious.
See, just before Corona broke, we were talking and in organising a tour as a way of, Lisa and Jen, Prince and the Pervert take on the world. We were going to the US and the UK. We were hoping to swing by Las Vegas to meet you in person and drag you down to Sorrow Ranch. We need to go door knock. We were both working journos. We're used to knocking on doors unannounced, occasionally being chased down the street by people. We're used to it. That was our trade, and we need to do this. But so we're locked down in isolation. We can't go. So
we can't do anything other than send notebooks and stickers.
So we're hoping to link up with like-minded people around the world who can help us do this, because Fergie breaking and going to the Sun was a huge thing. It dragged attention right back on Andrew's crime.
But what about the bus with Prince Andrew's house and the... I'm sorry, Bobby.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. We do.
That was my husband.
The audience knows we do things guerrilla journalism style around here. We don't have no time to make stuff polished on the Jeffrey Epstein show. This is a freestyle battle royale on a regular basis. So a little bit of music in the background, we're okay with that.
Do you know that was the theme to Succession?
Yeah.
That's my ringtone.
Oh, I was waiting for Kendall Roy to come into the studio and tell me what the deal was.
Well, we also record in a laundry in a backyard in suburban Australia. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have my...
We get the dogs barking and the chooks.
I tell you what, I have my spare bedroom is converted into a studio right now, and obviously I live in the city, so it's funny, I have a fire station maybe 500 yards from my house, so you'll hear the fire engines going off all the time when I'm recording, and it cracks me up, because I just leave it in there. I don't even bother going and editing out. What's the point, right?
Well, I heard the story the other day, or maybe it was this morning, that you were flogging 20 buck notes to the gardener to go on the other side.
I'll tell you, that's an old school Italian trick there. This guy was out here, he was whacking the hell out of the plants, and I appreciate the good work, obviously, and I want the place to look nice, but I didn't want him to, feel like I was kind of ordering him, so I showed up out there with a 20, crisped up, nice in my hand. I gave him a little head nod, and in better times, when we're not dealing with the coronavirus, I would have had it curled up in my palm and just gave him a shake of the hand, and, the typical Italian transaction. But this time around, I had to, kind of wave him down, and I was like, I'm trying to work right now. Can you go to the other side of the building or apartment or, townhouse area, and I'll throw you $20 to do it. And boy, let me tell you what, he was happy to do it.
Wow, that's incredible. So basically, Jen and I want to take this further, but at the moment, all we can do is podcast on the Prince and the Pervert. But I do think it's so easy to make your own merchandise, and a lot of these people have big egos, and they can't even handle the smallest amount of criticism. But what I loved about Gloria Allred's Prince Andrew bus, telling him to go to chat to the FBI, and they had the number of the FBI on the bus. She picked the one that went past Prince Andrew's Buckingham Palace, and he lives there some of the time. It goes past there on an hourly basis.
Yeah, I'm not, Gloria Allred has never been one of my favorite people, but one thing I have found out in this case is, boy, this case makes for some unlikely bedfellows. I have made some allies in this case that probably would have never even spoken to me before, to be honest with you, because I'm a pretty brash person. I have a lot of opinions, and I'm not the kind of person that's ever going to be told how to think or how to speak. So if I don't agree with something, I won't just, act like I do to make sure there's no waves. I'm pretty abrupt and pretty forward with things, so.
Well, you and I should get on well, because I'm very to the point and it can be abrupt.
And I hate people.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of people either, to be honest with you. So,
well, I suppose then being in quarantine has been good for you both.
Yeah, I've been preparing for this my whole life. There's a reason I do long-distance backpacking.
Yeah, the endurance, for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? I like being alone. I'm not a big fan of... I spent my whole life being in big groups. Right out of high school, I was working at the Joint inside of the Hard Rock, putting on concerts, the biggest concerts in the world. So I was always around thousands of people. And then from there, I moved into the financial sector, the gaming division of the financial sector. So again, always around a bunch of people. And I've always had a management position as well. So I've always been forced to put on a happy face. Now, I sit around the house and I do whatever I want. I'm not forced to deal with people. This is kind of nice, honestly. I wish I can go to the, different places than the store, but, I guess we have to deal with what we're dealt.
Well, it's hard for me because I'm a massive extrovert, but we will get through it.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything else, this is going to pass, and when it passes, it'll be another distant memory for all of us. Some of the best advice I've ever got in my life is from my father, and he said, when this is all over, it'll seem like just a minute. And what he meant was, no matter how good something is or how bad something is, when it's all over and done with, it'll seem like just a minute. And he's right. When Carrie was diagnosed with breast cancer, And I got hit with that shock the day we were sitting in the doctor's office when we were called in for her results. And I felt overwhelmed. I really didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to start. My whole job as her soulmate and the person who loves her is to protect her. And I was in a position where I couldn't do that. So I thought back to what my dad had always told me about, when it's all over and done with, it'll be just a minute. And that's exactly what got me through the whole entire ordeal with Carrie, just knowing that there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. And that's the same situation we're in worldwide right now. There's light at the end of the tunnel, but sometimes it's hard to see that.
But it gives us time to research, to go and find more info that, normal life would have meant that we didn't have the time to do.
Excuse next door, that dog. It is the absolute biggest problem we have when we record.
Hang on, it could be Mossad coming calling. Hang on.
No, we're just kidding. But, we do. We record here from Jen's Laundry. So it's a small operation that we run, but we really do feel like you're really passionate about the Prince and the Pervert. We're not here to make our names, or we're not here to earn money. We're here for the victims, the survivors. I'm going to start calling them survivors.
The thing is, Lisa and I have already had our professional careers. We've already made our names. We have nothing more to prove. This isn't about money. This is about they are women. They were children. They're now women. They were caught up beyond our scope of experience that we could understand what they went through. It should not have happened. We need to fix this so it doesn't happen to our own daughters.
And the other thing you always say, Bobby, it is at the end of the day, it's what matters, and their stories, and everything that has been said by Virginia has checked out. She's not making stuff up, Virginia Roberts-Giuffre. I suppose she's the most high-profile survivor at the moment.
Yep, 100%.
She's in that photo.
Yeah, she's the most high-profile survivor without a doubt. She's the one that's really harnessed social media to her favor. And it's really done her well, because what has happened is that we are legion now. It isn't one or two people. There are thousands of people that are demanding justice in this case. And when I say thousands, that's not hyperbole. There are, I can't even be, it's a full-time job to answer my emails at this point, ladies. A full-time job.
Yeah, I feel like that too. I said to Jetty recently, we need to get someone to do our emails and some of our social media, because it's a 7-day-a-week job.
Easily.
Yeah.
If you want to do it properly.
And then, of course, you don't want to miss things. You're in the middle of researching things. You'll look at an email and you'll be like, oh, I'll respond to that, and then you totally space it. And you're like you said, it's a full-time job, but it is the outcry of support for these survivors at this point. There's a lot of it, and coming from all corners too. It doesn't matter your political bend. One thing that I've noticed lately too is a lot of the Trump supporters, the QAnon folk, have really jumped on board, and they're really. It seems like these people on Twitter, especially, are supportive of Virginia's cause, and I was kind of shocked by that, because how critical we all are of Dershowitz and how Trump was an enabler as well. So it gives me some hope that people are starting to understand that this isn't tribalism. This is real life. These are real girls. These are real stories, and we need real results.
It's always been beyond party lines, especially for us. We have no skin in the game with American politics. The main linkage here is the abusers are male, except, of course, for the call for and Ghislaine. It's a male issue. It is not a Democrat, Republican,
and a female issue. It's a human issue.
It's a human issue. Yeah. But it isn't, the goodies aren't one side of the political party and the baddies aren't the other side.
It's about the girls.
It's about the girls.
Right. It's about the crime.
And with Maria Farmer coming forward with the information that was shared the other night, that's incredible. It's blown the case open yet again.
Yeah, when it comes to Maria, see, I'm very biased in regards to Maria. Her and I have become very close, very friendly. We talk literally, and I'm not kidding when I say this, on a daily basis. And I really appreciate what Whitney did here. I really appreciate the fact that Whitney is so reliable and provided enough comfort for Maria, who has been treated very, very badly by a lot of journalists and a lot of outlets. So it gave me a lot of heart that Whitney was so accommodating to Maria, and she let Maria tell her story through a platform that dwarfs my own platform. So I'm very happy that Maria has her story out there. I'm very happy that somebody like Whitney was able to be the one to, get that story out for the public to hear. And going forward, you can expect a lot more coming from Maria Farmer for sure.
That's good, because the issue a lot of people think is that we're not in this race for ourselves. It's a collab. The more we support other broadcasters, other platforms to get this information out, it's not I'm the owner of the information. We all work together, and we need to make sure this happens.
Yep,
we're a team.
Yeah, like I always say, it's not about me, it's about we. We're all, there's you ladies bring an angle to the story that I might not have thought of. I don't have all the answers, so I like to reach out and collaborate with people who are following the case and pick your brains and see what you have to say about things and what the groundswell's like where you're at. These are all important things for the case because, like I always talk about, for me, the most important thing is context.
Yep.
If we don't have the proper,
keep it going.
Yeah, if we don't have the proper context though, and we're only giving pieces of the story, this is one of those stories that's so nuanced that you can't just see a little piece of this puzzle and figure out everything. You have to literally dig in the way we do on a daily basis and really read between the lines because they're not telling you the truth. Like usual, you're being gaslit.
Yes, most definitely. That's what they like to do, make things seem so crazy that they can't possibly be true.
Yeah, and that's what they did right away when Jeffrey Epstein died. They started launching into the whole anyone who's asking questions is a conspiracy theorist, et cetera, when in reality, we all know that many coincidences could not have occurred. Come on, nobody believes that. Nobody believes that. So for them to keep running that narrative and then to trot Barr out and act like, well, he saw this sacred video that nobody else can see, it's laughable at best.
Absolutely.
Show us the video.
Yeah, exactly. You want me to shut my mouth?
Video bullshit.
Right. You want me to shut my mouth? Show me the video.
Yep.
Until then?
And then we'll stop talking about how he died. We need to know.
Yeah, it's a huge part of the story because what it does is it cements things. If say it is a homicide, say it does turn out that this was a homicide, do you know what sort of dark-ass tunnel that's going to lead everybody down? And what is the government's main job? To make sure that people don't panic, to control the population via the narrative, and to make sure the food distribution is never cut off. As long as those two parameters are met in America, people are never going to show up with pitchforks and torches. But if you pull the curtain...
But what about toilet paper?
Well, that's as good as gold here in America right now. I don't know about elsewhere, but in America, that is as good as gold. So,
unfortunately, it started the run here. And we'll say boomers, we're not actually talking about an age group, but an attitude. In a couple of boomer groups on Facebook, they were saying that all toilet paper that comes to Australia was made in China. China's shut down because of, COVID. We better go and buy our toilet paper. That's what caused the run on toilet paper in Australia, and then it spread via social media.
And punch-ups in supermarkets.
There was punch-ups between women over toilet roll.
Oh, yeah. Yep, that's typical in America as well. People don't know how to conduct themselves. So I'm glad that I was ahead of the curve with all of that stuff. I've seen this coming for months, to be honest with you. It was quite obvious that there was more to it than they were telling us. When I watched people get welded into their homes, I knew shit was real. So that was the point in time where... Oh, yeah, you never saw people getting welded into their homes in China when this was happening?
What do you mean?
Yeah, the Chinese government showed up at their house and welded them into their apartment so they couldn't get out.
Wow.
That's how draconian things were in Wuhan. And right now...
Who were these people? Were they ordinary citizens?
Ordinary citizens, just ordinary citizens. You see, in China, you don't have a choice. If the CCP decides that you're getting locked in your home and welded in your home, then you're getting welded in your home. And there's no...
Frankly, they should do it here in Australia. There's idiots who are going to the beach and wandering around like it's just an extended holiday.
Yeah, but they can't do a carte
seriously.
blanche to everyone, can they?
No, but I know in China the amount of food deliveries went through the roof. They organised, even McDonald's was being home delivered, so there was no physical contact. We saw a lot on TikTok. Accessing that, you see a little bit more of the truth of that society or that culture, that country. And so we saw a lot of that happening.
But I didn't know about people being forcibly welded into their house.
No.
Oh, yeah. Look, I again, I don't, as you well know, I bypass the legacy media, and I use sources on the ground. And what was going on? What was going on in China at the time when this all? See, let's back up a little bit. I don't want to get too much off the topic of Epstein, but the first case of pneumonia was November 17th in Wuhan, and they didn't report.
Okay.
They didn't report that there was anything seriously going on until like January 14th. So they closed down travel in their own country, but they were letting people leave from Wuhan to go elsewhere during the Chinese New Year. And the WHO was working hand in hand with them to cover this all up. And this is all factual. And you know the way I go through the daily drops and break it down?
Yep.
I did the same exact thing in the first COVID episode that I did in the other podcast, where I laid the groundwork for China and the WHO working hand in hand to lie to the rest of the world. So again, that just goes into the overarching point we're making in the Epstein case, that the legacy media cannot be trusted.
For sure.
So
absolutely.
Now, when it comes to your investigative style and the way you two ladies go about your business covering this Jeffrey Epstein case, did you pick a lot of that up when you were working as journalists previously, or is the brash approach something that's a little bit new?
Oh, well, look, Jenny and I, there's a saying in Australia, like, we're stirrers from way back, because we worked in an entire newsroom full of men in power who used to harass us very badly. And so Jen and I we had to work around them. So my background is also not only journalism, but government, specifically public affairs. So I have an idea of what we can get away with and what we can't. So that's why we've got a pretty good news sense about what is news, but how would you describe it? It's definitely collaborative in what we do, but we do different things.
See, Lisa is really good at reading words. Words to me, in a way, like reading Bradley Edwards' book, I've had to stop so many times when he's recanting the survivors' stories, because when it comes down to words as a writer, it really impacts me. But send me a video or send me on a mission to find what really is an egg-shaped penis and have a look at what autopsy photos you can find. And I found the Russian sites have been wonderful with the Epstein stuff at the moment. All autopsies, everything involved in the autopsy, I found. A lot of it disappeared, then you find it migrated to another site. I can look at visuals all day long and it doesn't affect me.
But whereas words
can be, but Lisa can cope.
Yeah, so I've spent a lot of time in the FBI vault and also your National Archives, and you're actually more open than the UK is. I can't get a lot out of, so I go into newspaper archives as well. There's so much on the Maxwell family and Ghislaine out there.
It's scary.
So I think with her and Epstein, they probably got way too public.
Yeah, the thing with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell is they made a big mistake. When they got caught that first time being so brazen the way they were, their handlers, their people that were in charge of them, they had let them know previously, if you get burned, then you're going to be discarded like the rest of these people if you get burned again. And Jeffrey Epstein was so sick and twisted that his proclivities just kept him going, and he didn't even change up his MO.
No.
And Ghislaine loved the social life. And I think Epstein did too, with the whole monogrammed everything, his slippers, his shirts. He liked being seen as a social elite. He forgot about his role. Should have been a little bit less public, quieter, but he wanted the attention. He craved it, as I think Ghislaine did, as we call her.
But also Dershowitz to a great degree as well. He certainly doesn't have a low profile.
Especially when he's doing an interview and there's a life-size doll on a lounge behind him. You know, what's to go with that?
and nude volleyballing.
Yeah.
At Martha's Vineyard, of all places.
Seems like a very sick and twisted man, in my opinion. There's something wrong with Alan Dershowitz. I can't really put my finger on it. I'm not a psychologist, but the man has some very odd proclivities, and there is zero doubt in my mind that Virginia is not telling. She's definitely telling the truth about what happened with Dershowitz. Exactly. I mean, all you have to, in my opinion, the guy is just creepy. The things that he's okay with, how, the article from 92 talking about how, the age of consent should be lower, all of that shit. No normal thinking guy sits around ruminating about things like that. Oh, I really wish the age of consent was lower. What is wrong with you? I'll slap the hell out of you.
And what happened to his first wife? I'm sure nothing did, but people talk about it on the internet.
What's that?
The original Mrs. Dershowitz. She committed suicide.
Oh.
Yeah, there's...
saying what people say. It's just my opinion.
Yep, it's definitely a talking point. Again, when you're a public figure like Alan Dershowitz and you insert yourself into all sorts of scandalous courtroom type behavior, and you're, defending people like Trump and O.J. Simpson, et cetera, Epstein, you're going to have your whole entire life put on blast on the internet. It's not even a question. It's definitely going to occur, and you have to be ready to deal with that. You better have thick skin, because you can't sue every Tom, Dick, and Harry.
The optics of him going and representing Trump recently, we were just like gobsmacked, just like, what's Trump and his team thinking, getting Dershowitz in after he's been, the finger's been pointed at him as an Epstein associate. What the hell was Trump thinking?
Yeah, but I don't think he cared. He just knew that he's the number one constitutional lawyer.
The craziest...
But it's also because we're out of American politics. It's no skin off our nose what happens over there, just watching it from an outsider. And we're probably getting different news sources as well. It was just the weirdest thing.
It was so weird, the optics.
Yeah, and the craziest part about that, and I stated it earlier when we talked about Dershowitz on one of the podcasts a few weeks back or whatever, Trump had such an ironclad case that whole entire impeachment stunt that they tried to pull was so ridiculous and had zero chance of actually ever going anywhere that he didn't even need Dershowitz there to defend him. All it did was bury him optically and lose support by people who might have nominally supported him, but seeing that he's working with Dershowitz have been completely turned off. So it was a very odd move for Trump to make, and it was a move that didn't even need to occur, honestly. There are so many good constitutional lawyers in America, and the case that the Democrats brought was so terribly weak that it didn't take someone like Dershowitz to beat the case. And I'm not saying that Trump wasn't in the wrong or, that's for another conversation another day. I'm talking about strictly how the law sees it. And there was zero chance that they were going to garner the support to get Trump impeached. So it was a stunt, right? Why are they busy doing that kind of shit, trying to impeach Trump, when we have an actual child trafficking ring going on, and they don't have one single congressional hearing to hear from these girls?
Exactly. That's what we're sitting over here in the bottom of the world going, what the hell are you doing? Why aren't you chasing this down?
Exactly. They should have...
What about... So I was just going to say, Pelosi's daughter said that some of our favourites are going down. That was her, wasn't it?
Yes, that was. And what she means by that, her quote was, well, when this all breaks, some of our faves are going to go down. And we've talked about her faves. And again, I'm not trying to get political with this case, because it's a go nowhere proposition if you want to get political here. There are plenty of bad players on both sides of the aisle. But Pelosi's daughter was saying that a lot of our favorites are going to get caught up in this, and she meant people like George Stephanopoulos. She meant people like Katie Couric. She meant those kind of people, the very famous people that were associating with Epstein even after his first arrest, are going to be outed by his second arrest. And she was more concerned about that than she is about justice for the survivors. And that's just typical of these people. And when I say I'm at war with these people, I mean all of the establishment.
Seriously, who gives a? These people shouldn't be associating with him. Why is anyone trying to cover up for them?
Exactly right. You know, if you're hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein after the first arrest, after the first conviction, you don't have a leg to stand on if you're trying to defend your behavior. You're hanging out with a known pedophile, a known sex offender, a known child predator, and yet you're still going to his house for some dinner. You're still going to his house to associate with him. You're flying across the Atlantic Ocean to break up with him.
Exactly, and having to stay at his house for 5 days to break up with him. Hello, Prince Andrew.
Yeah, you know, and the worst thing about that is, you know that Prince Andrew's people could have picked up that phone and called any hotel in New York City, and Andrew would have had a suite, maybe even a whole floor for himself. But he chose to associate with Epstein. He chose to stay at Epstein's house, and he chose to become the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family. That's all his doing, nobody else's fault.
And it's interesting that they were photographed walking through Central Park as well. It's as if the Epstein crew was still manipulating him and getting more, I suppose, blackmail on him.
Oh, look, if anyone thinks that they stopped for a second with their blackmail operation, with their honey trap operation, they're being naive. This operation kept going all the way up until Epstein was arrested the second time. I have that on good authority. I can't discuss exactly who told me that, but I have it on good authority that his behavior continued all the way up till the second arrest.
Yep, definitely. Totally. Well, from Australia, we'd love to thank you, Bobby. You've been our every morning update, our every evening. My kids know that when I stumble out of my room with my espresso in my hand, they are not to say a word. They know I'm listening to my American, well, they've dubbed you my boyfriend.
I love it.
They know, do not interrupt. Mummy's listening to Bobby. You've been getting this news out. It's been a fantastic resource for everybody.
And you provide such good leadership. That's what we need. We've got to have some focus.
You know, I've always been the kind of person, if I'm going to get involved in something, I'm not going to be led around by, people that I don't trust, or muckrakers, or people who want to be the story instead of report the story. I've always been the kind of person to blaze my own way, and that's the sort of style I've brought to my reporting of this case. And like I always tell you, ladies, I just try and do my little part. I'm just like everybody else. I'm just a pissed off citizen of the United States of America who happens to have a bit of a platform now. And when it comes to this case, I have completely removed my own personal feelings when it comes to looking for personal gain or any of that, trying to build my profile for later on down the road. In fact, I've probably burned a lot of bridges when it comes to moving forward after this case. There's going to be a lot of outlets that won't want to have anything to do with me, and that's fine. Because, like you said, it's that important, and if I can do my little part to rally whoever may be listening and to bring us all together to keep pursuing justice and to keep things in focus, then that's what I'm willing to do. And I'm here every single night since October 1st. I haven't missed a single day. That's birthday, that's Christmas, that's New Year's Eve, that's Thanksgiving, that's Halloween, and I plan on doing it until this case comes to a head, because anything less at this point would be me giving up on the survivors, and enough people have already done that, and I will never, ever be counted among those people.
Because it's not us, it's the survivors. It's not us in the spotlight. We're not doing it for ourselves, for fame, definitely not for fortune. It's about the survivors and making sure that some justice at some time happens.
Exactly. Like I said, I've been talking to Maria for a very long time, and her and I have had some very intimate conversations. And I sat on all of the stuff that we've talked about for months because we talked in confidence. And this has always been Maria's story to tell. And I've always been very adamant about that with her. I never wanted her to rush onto the podcast or anything like that. I always wanted her to tell her story the way she wanted to tell it. And the
way she needs to tell it.
Exactly right, because it's nobody else's story to tell. It's not Vicky Ward's. It's not the New York Times. It's her story. And now that it's all coming to light, and she is actually on the record, and things are starting to move in the direction of pulling the curtain back to really expose who the Wexners are, like I told her, there is zero chance that I'm going anywhere. I'll be there with her, shoulder to shoulder, standing firm, and when push comes to shove, I am not the one that you want to be standing across from in that ring.
And we'll be straight behind you. So, you know, we are a lot shorter and
Older, probably.
much older than you, Bobby, darling.
And have back problems.
That's what, you know what, though?
We've got the tongue.
Like I always say, it's one gnat, you can swat away one gnat, right? But if there's 10 million gnats, what then? You can't breathe. And that's the plan. We need to suffocate these people. We need to be on top of them, and we need to come at them from all quarters of the world. And the way you ladies are leading the charge from Australia, it's a big deal. And I don't really have people come on my podcast. I'm not an interview guy for the most part. That's not my format here. But you ladies do such good work, and I appreciate you so much, what you have brought to the case and how much you have chased down your angles, and you have been very, 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 very focused on the actual reality and the facts of the case, and I appreciate that. So that's why I wanted to bring you on and maybe expose you to some of my listeners here in America that might not have heard you ladies yet. So I'm really glad that you were able to come on. I'm really excited to have you on, and I really look forward to us doing this sort of collaboration in the future as much as we possibly can.
Well, thank you so much. We are having the ultimate fangirl moments.
We are. You can't see us, but we are sort of, ooh.
You're our Bono.
Well, that's, you know what, it's very humbling, and it's I take the responsibility seriously of keeping, I guess I should say, on point here, and not getting off track and not getting caught up in all of the BS. And if that gives other people, other content creators, a rallying point and something to look at and say, hey, if this guy can grind it out every single day, 2 times a day at least, then we're going to add our voices, then I've done what I can do. And I say that all the time. I only want to do what is in my ability in this case to bring justice. And I'm never going to make pretend I'm something that I'm not. I'm never going to become the story. I will always be the person pursuing the story when it comes to this case.
As we say, there's ripples in the water. We join to become waves, and eventually we become a tsunami. And that's what we're hoping to be for the survivors.
Exactly. And I've got to say that they can't kill us all.
Yeah.
They might try.
Exactly right.
Good luck getting into Australia.
All right, everybody. So that concludes my interview with Lisa and Jen from the Prince and the Pervert podcast. We had some technical issues towards the end, so I had to edit it out there. So that's what the quick drop was about. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. I'll be back tomorrow morning with your usual content. You know, right back on schedule, folks. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. Until tomorrow, folks, have a great evening.
You want your cannabis and you want it now. But let's be honest, the couch is comfortable and you're not leaving the house. Not to worry. Amuse has your back. They deliver high-quality cannabis products right to your front door. Think of them as a good friend with a great stash who's always available. From vape pens to flour, pre-rolls to beverages, topicals to edibles, they've got it. All without the dispensary hassle. Check them out at amuse.com and save $20 on us. That's right. Just use promo code PODCAST to get $20 off your first purchase. That's AMUSE.com. Promo code PODCAST. You want your cannabis and you want it now. But let's be honest, the couch is comfortable and you're not leaving the house. Not to worry. Amuse has your back. They deliver high-quality cannabis products right to your front door. Think of them as a good friend with a great stash who's always available. From vape pens to flour, pre-rolls to beverages, topicals to edibles, they've got it. All without the dispensary hassle. Check them out at amuse.com and save $20 on us. That's right. Just use promo code PODCAST to get $20 off your first purchase. That's AMUSE.com. Promo code PODCAST.